stories from Wayside School. Give it up for MS, Girl Drama Production.
Okay, so hi everybody. I'm gonna be the narrator and Calvin.
I'm gonna be the narrator.
And I'm one of the narrators also.
And I'm going to be Joe and also a narrator. I'm gonna be Luis.
I'm gonna be Mrs. Jules.
Okay, we're going to tell you about some of the students in Mrs. Jules' class on the 13th story of Wayside School. But before we get to them, there's something you ought to know. Wayside School was accidentally built sideways.
It was supposed to be only one story high, with 30 classrooms all in a row. Instead, it is 30 stories high, with one classroom on each story.
The builder said he was very sorry. Our first story is about Joe. One day, Mrs. Jules kept him in for recess.
Joe, you're going to have to learn to count.
But Mrs. Jules, I already know how to count. Let me go to recess.
First, count to 10.
Joe counted to 10.
6, 8, 12, 1, 9, 3, 11, 10.
No, Joe, that is wrong.
But Miss Jules already counted to 10.
But you were wrong. I'll prove it to you.
She put down 5 pencils.
How many pencils do we have here, Joe?
4, 6, 1, 9, 5. There are 5 pencils, Mrs. Jules.
That's wrong.
How many pencils are there then?
5?
But that's what I said. May I go to recess now?
No, you got the right answer, but you counted the wrong way again. You were just lucky.
She set down 8 potatoes.
How many potatoes, Joe?
7, 3, 1, 2, 5, 6, 3, 8. 8 potatoes, Mrs. Joe.
No, there are 8.
But that's what I said. May I go to recess now?
No, you got the right answer, but you counted the wrong way again.
She put down 3 books.
Count the books, Joe.
1,000, 1,000,000, 3. 3 books, Mrs. Jules.
Correct?
May I go to recess now?
No.
May I at least have a potato?
No! Listen to me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now you say it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Very good.
She put down 6 erasers.
Now, count the erasers, Joe. Just the way I showed you.
Joe counted the erasers.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 erasers, Mrs. Jules.
No!
Didn't I count right?
Yes, you counted right, but you got the wrong answer.
This doesn't make any sense. When I count the wrong way, I get the right answer. But when I count it the right way, I get the wrong answer.
Oh! Mrs. Jules hit her head against the wall 5 times.
How many times did I hit my head against the wall, Joe?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 times, Mrs. Jules.
No.
4, 6, 1, 8, 5. 5 times, Mrs. Jules.
Mrs. Jules shook her head no and said,
Yes, that is right.
just then, the bell rang.
Oh, darn.
Said Joe.
I missed recess.
Our final story is about Calvin. One day, Mrs. Jules said,
Calvin, I want you to take this note to Miss Zarves for me.
Miss Sarves?
Yes, Miss Zarves. You know where she is, don't you?
Yes. She's on the 19th story.
That's right, Calvin. Take it to her.
Calvin didn't move.
Well, what are you waiting for?
She's on the 19th story.
Yes, we already established that fact.
The 19th story.
Yes, Calvin, the 19th story. Now take it to her before I lose my patience.
But Mrs. Jules.
Now, Calvin.
Yes, ma'am. Calvin walked out of the classroom and stood outside the door. He didn't know where to go.
As you know, when the builder built Wayside School, he accidentally built it sideways, but he also forgot to build the 19th story.
He built the 18th and the 20th, but no 19th. He said he was very sorry. There was also no Miss Zarves. Ms. Zars taught the class in the 19th story. Since there was no 19th story, there was no Ms. Zars.
And besides that, as if Calvin didn't have enough problems, there was no note.
Mrs. Jules had never given Calvin a note.
Boy, this is great. I'm supposed to take a note that I don't have to a teacher who doesn't exist, who teaches on a story that was never built.
He didn't know what to do. There was no 19th story.
There had never been a 19th story.
There would never be a 19th story. Calvin walked down to the administration office on the first story. He decided to put the note in Miss Zars' mailbox.
But there wasn't one of those either. That didn't bother Calvin too much though, since he didn't have a note.
He looked out the window and saw Louise, the art teacher, shooting baskets.
Louis will know what to do.
Calvin went outside.
Hey, Louis! I don't have time for a game. I have to deliver a note to Miss Zars up on the 19th story.
Then what are you doing all the way down here?
Well, I don't have a note and there's no Miss Zars. Well, I have no note. That's good because I sure don't. Oh. I don't quite understand, but I'll just have to tell Mrs. Jules that I couldn't deliver a note.
Calvin walked back up the 30 flights of stairs to Mrs. Jules' class.
Thank you very much, Calvin.
Yes, but you see,
That was a very important note, and I was glad I was able to count on you.
yeah, but I
The note was very important. I told Ms. Zars not to meet me for lunch.
oh, don't worry,
Said Calvin.
she won't.
So now you know about Wayside School. Some people say these stories are strange and silly.
That is probably true.
But when the children at Wayside School heard stories about us, they thought we were strange and silly.
And that's for sure. Thank you.